Thank you for spending another midweek moment with the Wisconsin property taxpayers. I'm Paul Rozeski. Today is Wednesday, the 18th of June, 2025. We are Wisconsin, so it is fitting to say Happy National Cheesemakers Day today. I look around and I really think it's kind of cool. Day after day of scattered showers, an occasional thunderstorm, plenty of spurts of sunshine sprinkled in, hot humid weather, and a Brewers Cubs series in the middle of the week. This is really what Wisconsin's summer looks like. Gotta love it. The uncomfortable humidity and all. All of today's updates are about money. A few budget updates along with some of the chess moves and positioning between the governor and the legislature, and a few court cases that make decisions about money. There's a lot to get to, so let's jump into some news together. And let's start with the state budget. The Joint Committee on Finance, the JFC, is still meeting every Tuesday, Thursday. Yesterday, they approved a budget for the Department of Corrections and some other random stuff. It was similar to how the budget has looked in the past for corrections, which frustrated Democrats because there's a bipartisan sentiment behind closing the Green Bay prison. The governor proposed a way to repurpose and shift inmates around to other facilities to accomplish just that, and the plan hasn't gone anywhere. This vote confirmed that the legislature is rejecting the plan, and they haven't offered a plan of their own yet, so we will have to wait and see if that happens and when. Tomorrow, the committee is taking up 4 more departments. Nothing exciting or probably controversial. Some of the basic stuff's Department of Administration, Department of Justice, Children and Families, DATCAP. That's where that's at. So, as a side note, the JFC was supposed to take up the UW system budget, but decided to take that off the agenda. Don't know what they're still considering with the adjustments to their budget requests. And by that, I mean, are they reconsidering how much they want to cut that budget or if they'll just leave it flat? One thing you can believe is that they aren't considering giving the UW system $856 million, which was the increase that Governor Evers proposed. There are some rumors that instead of an increase, they're considering a budget cut. So, stay tuned. In other news, there are now 2 Republicans in the Senate that are unhappy with how the budget process is going. The first is Steve Nass, who hasn't voted to approve a budget in over a decade and has already voiced his frustration with spending and activism in this budget cycle, so a good idea where he's going to land. He's now joined by Chris Kapenga. Chris is the former president of the Senate. And remember, the Senate is the body that only has 33 total members. The Republicans have a relatively slim margin. In a social media post the other day, Chris Kapenga said that there are 3 options in this budget, and I quote, "First option, accept the governor's budget. The governor made clear he wants significant spending and tax increases. The requests don't even make sense. It's a non-starter. Second option is to support the budget being drafted by members of Joint Finance. This version also appears to be adding unnecessary spending without any reforms that would improve the budget process or dig into wasteful spending currently in place. An additional major risk in doing this is the state Supreme Court has allowed the governor to essentially do whatever he wants with his veto pen. No bueno. Option 3. Allow the existing budget to carry over. It would be the lowest spending increase in a decade and have no veto pen risk. Unless something improves, I am going with option number 3, unquote. Those 2 are in the Senate, and like I said, there is a very thin margin there. There are 33 seats, 18 Republicans, 15 Democrats. That's a difference of 3 votes. Well, if you get 2 votes that flip from a yes to a no, that's a swing of 4. And therefore, the budget has the real risk of not making it out of the Senate to be approved. As another aside, this has always been one of the options, and since January, I have been bringing it up as one of the options and also saying that the budget can never be good enough because there is almost always going to be baked-in increases. Every lawmaker I'm meeting with, either I bring it up or they bring it up first as a serious option. And remember, that's even people that are in the assembly. So it is widely recognized in the entire building. The reason it can be considered as an actual option is because state government is different from federal government. Like we've all seen from the news cycles, if they don't have a budget in place to replace the one that's expiring, the federal government can shut down. Wisconsin, on the other hand, has laws in place which prevent that. If there is no budget signed into law before the current one expires, then Wisconsin state government continues to operate under the existing budget. From a taxpayer perspective, this is, without question, the best case scenario because 2 budgets ago, the state spending increased by $7 billion. The last budget, spending increased by $11 billion. That's 4 years, $18 billion in increases. If we had 2 years of a pause where maybe the taxpayer could catch their breath, I think that might be a good thing. Another thought, I think it's really kind of fascinating because all the groups out there are going to fall into their typical partisan talking points. But in reality, if the conversation is about no budget, and if that no budget thing gains traction, I wonder where some of the groups like the massive collection of all the school lobby organizations will fall in on something like this. They're in an interesting spot because, yes, joint finance gave them millions for high-need special education increases and gave millions more for funding standard special education, but they also cut billions of dollars in equalization aid funding. For them, it's the legislature's proposed budget, and if it doesn't get passed, neither does that $5 billion funding cut. It'll be really telling to see if any groups weigh in on this, because if a bunch of them do, you'll probably see some unlikely bedfellows. In other news, we have another unanimous decision from the Wisconsin Supreme Court. Staying with today's theme, this one also has to do with money. They unanimously said that the Attorney General has the authority and the final authority to approve settlements in civil litigation. The Joint Finance Committee was arguing that since it involves state money, it falls under their power of the purse, and that was clearly shut down. End of story. And finally, I leave you with a quote from very, very quotable POTUS number 43, George W. Bush, who got it spot on when he said, "Our view is that taxpayer dollars should be spent wisely or not at all." Have a great second half of your week, and as always, thanks for listening. Wisconsin Property Taxpayers Inc. is a nonpartisan membership organization consisting of thousands of small business, farm, and homeowner members in every humid corner of the state. Founded in 1985, the organization is committed to providing its members with up-to-date information, legislative advocacy, and exclusive cost-saving benefits. Find out how to join at WPTOnline.org/join.